One day, Theresa Caputo, a medium from Long Island, bluntly expressed to her daughter Victoria Caputo that she believed Victoria was making a grave error by continuing to be mentally ill, because she is willingly giving her spouse all of her savings that she has accumulated over the years. You have 2 kids, Theresa thought. Give to someone's future if you must give them anything at all. Is it wise, though, that you are giving your husband everything? She went on to say more firmly, what will you do if he divorces you and marries someone else one day? Have you given it any thought? After hearing her mother's remarks, Victoria was silent for a while. Her lips were not moving in response. As she sat in solitude, she acknowledged her error and came to the realization that a person's judgment can occasionally be clouded by strong emotions. Theresa Caputo had always felt that raising her daughter Victoria was far more challenging than the hardest readings she had ever assigned. It was one thing to help others deal with their loss. It was quite another to help your own child deal with heartache, anxiety, and mental turmoil. Theresa also had a heaviness in her chest that she had never experienced before on this particular occasion. The house felt abnormally silent on a quiet Tuesday, one of those days when the Long Island wind conveyed the subtle scent of the ocean. Theresa saw Victoria walk past the doorway when she was in her kitchen, looking through a pile of old photos. Her daughter's face had the pallor that comes from having a burden in the mind that the body is unable to conceal. Come here, Vic, Theresa murmured softly. Victoria entered the room cautiously, almost hesitantly, as if she thought her mother would read the truth before she could tell it. She put her arms around herself as she sat at the table. Theresa examined her face, noting the worn-out eyes, the anxious tapping of her fingers, and the avoidance of eye contact. Are you all right, honey? Theresa inquired. Victoria let out a sigh. Ma, I'm all right. Theresa wasn't persuaded. Just dealing with things. As she always did when she felt something wasn't quite right. She cocked her head. What? There was no sound. There was a long, heavy, awkward quiet between them. Theresa waited until Victoria muttered, I did something today. The words, I transferred all my savings to Anthony, were as softly as a stone hitting water, but caused enormous tremors in Theresa's heart. She inhaled deeply and made an effort to control her reaction. All of your money? Theresa said it again, carefully. Victoria's lips quivered as she nodded. Why, honey? I'm not sure, she said, her voice cracking. He claimed to have a pressing need for it. Ma, I adore him. I have faith in him. Theresa's gut nodded. I didn't think twice. Her voice lowered into that harsh, clearly maternal tone as she leaned closer. Victoria, she began, I need you to listen to me very clearly right now. When Victoria raised her eyes, a weird mixture of perplexity and terror filled them. Theresa stated resolutely, I am concerned about your emotional state. You're making important choices that don't align with how you're feeling. Without even questioning it, you're transferring years' worth of savings. That's vulnerability, honey, not strength. Victoria parted her lips, then shut them again. Theresa went on, her voice more acerbic. You have 2 kids, 2 small children who rely on you. Why not ensure someone's future if you truly feel compelled to give them something? Why not transfer the funds to their names? Victoria blinked quickly. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Theresa leaned closer still. You gave your husband everything. Vic, everything. Tell me, are you certain that's a good idea? The refrigerator's soft buzzing was the only sound audible. Then Theresa spoke what she had been reluctant to utter out loud. Honey, what will you do if one day he divorces you? What happens if he leaves and gets married to someone else? Then where will you stand? Have you given any of this any thought? Victoria's face lost its color. On the table, her hands went cold. Her eyes met her mother's for the first time since she entered the room, painfully, completely, and vulnerably. Theresa saw it then and there. The reality, the anxiety, the insight. Victoria hadn't considered it. Not once. When she eventually murmured, I guess I didn't think, her voice trembled. I simply wanted to let him know that I have faith in him. Though her heart still hurt, Theresa's countenance softened. I didn't want him to feel like I question him all the time. Reaching across the table, she grasped her daughter's shaking hands and held them tenderly. Love doesn't require you to sacrifice your safety, Vic. You don't have to give up your judgment to be trustworthy. Responsibility, not selfless sacrifice, is the foundation of a solid marriage. Victoria dropped her head as tears silently streamed down her cheeks. Squeezing her hands, Theresa said, Ma, I think I messed up. In a moment of weakness, you made an emotional choice. You are not a bad person because of that. You become human as a result. However, you must now correct it before it becomes irreparable." Victoria let out a trembling breath. Theresa said, "You're not stupid." "I feel so stupid. I'm just overwhelmed." The room fell silent once more, but this time it was contemplative rather than depressing. Sometimes, when we feel too much, we lose our ability to think rationally. Victoria sat back gently, gazing at the wall as if she were coming to a new realization. With each second that went by, the reality of her mother's warning became more and more apparent. All of her life flashed before her. Her kids, her long work nights, her silent sacrifices, her savings, all the money she had set aside for her children, herself, and emergencies. And she realized how effortlessly she had given everything away in a single, emotionally exposed moment. "You're right," she finally said, almost to herself. Theresa nodded, her gaze gentle but serious. "It's difficult to hear, I know." However, Victoria wiped away her tears and said, "You needed to hear it, honey." Theresa smiled softly and said, "I need to talk to Anthony. I need to clear my head." "That's my girl." The wind outside shook the windows, seemingly reflecting the change taking place within Victoria's heart. She wasn't even close to being healed yet. However, she had emerged from a perilous emotional haze. And sometimes acknowledging that you need to regain control is the first step towards healing. "Thank you, Ma," Victoria muttered as she stood and gave her mother a strong hug. "Because you brought me back before it was too late." Theresa caressed her daughter's hair as she had done in her childhood. "Vic, I'll always draw you back." The two women stood there, mother and daughter, united by love, honesty, and the hard realities that sometimes save us more than any consolation, while the evening sun streamed through the kitchen window. But the soft gray ash that collected in the air before rainfall was the color of the sky over Hicksville. Theresa Caputo was getting ready for her next customer while standing outside her tiny reading nook and straightening her blonde hair. There was a feeling of weight. She was aware that this type of heaviness wasn't from this planet. "Okay, Spirit, if you're trying to talk today, just be gentle," she muttered to herself as the warm lights inside slowly glowed. The candles flickered. The intake form was given to her by her assistant. Theresa hesitated. "Reminding me too much of who?" she whispered. Emily, a young woman in her early 30s with weary eyes and a quivering smile, came into the room a few moments later. As if it were the only thing keeping her rooted, she pressed her purse firmly to her chest. "Hello, my love," Theresa said kindly. "Please have a seat." Emily let out a trembling breath and sat down. "Whatever brings you here, you're safe." "I see signs everywhere, Theresa." Theresa felt a sharp chill shift in the air before she could continue the phrase, "I don't know if I'm losing my mind or if someone is trying to reach me." Spirit energy is powerful, passionate, and extremely pressing. She closed her eyes and put her hand on the table. Theresa said, "He came in fast, oh boy." "Who?" Emily leaned forward and asked. Theresa connected with a slow nod. "A young man, quite near you. He died suddenly." Emily gasped, her eyes immediately welling with tears. "And sweetheart, he has been trying so hard to get your attention that he's practically screaming in my ear." "It's him. It must be him." Theresa opened her eyes and said, "Ethan, your partner?" Emily gave a quiet nod. Emily shakily remarked, "I keep seeing his favorite number everywhere. His old sweatshirt appears in locations I can't even recall placing it. His playlist starts playing on its own. And last week," she said, her voice breaking. Theresa's eyes softened as she said, "The lamp he built for me flickered all night long last week." The spirit world had a tendency to hold on to unfinished business. She felt a rush of feeling, a mixture of longing, remorse, and desperate love, crash into her chest. "He keeps saying, 'I'm sorry.'" Emily wiped her mouth and let the tears fall down her cheeks. "What am I sorry for?" Theresa covered her heart with her hand. "For departing in this manner, for the altercation you two had that evening. He believed you were better off without him in your life. But now he knows he was mistaken." Emily's breath caught in her throat. "Our final remarks were cruel, Theresa. He worked too much, so we got into a fight. He never made time for me, I told him. And then the accident. she said. Theresa leaned in. He claims that you are not accountable for what transpired, sweetheart. He wants you to cease mentally reliving that previous exchange. He claims he never held you responsible, not even for a second. Emily's shoulders shook as she sobbed more deeply. Theresa felt her hands tingle. There was a familiar sign approaching. Theresa remarked, "He's showing me sunflowers." Emily's eyes grew wide with tears. Sunflowers? My favorite flower was that one. Once a week he would bring them home, even when we had no money. Theresa laughed quietly. Emily swallowed in horror as he said, "You still have one pressed inside a book?" How could he be aware of that? I couldn't look at that flower anymore because it hurt too much, so I concealed it, Theresa said with a soft grin. He wants you to pull it out once again. He claims that it serves as a memory of how much he loved you rather than a reminder of agony. Emily put her hands to her chest as if to keep her heart intact. Then, as if blown by an unseen breeze, the candle flame next to them began to wildly flicker and sway to the left and right. Emily's breath seized when Theresa murmured, "He just walked right next to us." Every reminder you see, every number, every song, every flicker, it's him trying to show you he didn't disappear, Theresa added quietly. Theresa closed her eyes once more as another wave of sadness struck. He never left you alone. Emily froze as he showed her a ring. A ring? Theresa gave a nod. Emily nearly lost her breath when she exclaimed, "Sweetheart, he was going to pop the question." What? But he didn't. Theresa smiled softly and continued, "He chickened out. He desired perfection." The correct words at the right time. Emily was shocked to learn that Michael had concealed the ring in his toolbox's top drawer. He expresses regret about waiting, saying, "Oh my God, I've never looked in that drawer." He claims to have loved you with all of his heart, and he still does. Emily sobbed uncontrollably, shielding her face as tears fell into her lap. "Theresa, what does he want me to do?" Emily said after a lengthy pause. Theresa took a deep breath as the message sunk into her heart. "I feel stuck between hanging on and letting go." "You don't have to let me go," he says. "You simply must let go of the suffering." Emily raised her tear-streaked face, taking in every word. "He wants you to go about your life. Travel like you had intended. Return to your painting." Emily shook her head, saying, "And sweetheart, he wants you to open your heart again someday." "I'm not sure how," Theresa said with a gentle smile. "You'll be able to tell when it's time. And he wants you to keep in mind that he won't be replaced when that time arrives." "He's being honored." Emily nodded and wept quietly. The room's pressure subsided. The air got warmer. The candle remained steady. Slowly, Theresa sensed the spirit retreating. Theresa muttered, "He's kissing your forehead." Emily's tears dropped silently as he said, "And he says, 'Thank you for loving me when I didn't even know how to love myself.'" "And please stop ignoring the lamp," Theresa said, pausing and grinning as she heard the final message. Through tears, Emily spoke a sad giggle. "I flicker it because it's the only way I can say hi." "I knew it was him," she said, and the room went silent. The ghost had returned. But there was a gentle ticking sound as the bell above the glass door sounded. Theresa Caputo entered Dave's Vinyl Harbor, one of the most cherished, oldest, and dustiest record stores on Long Island. Like a cozy overcoat from the past, the scent of wood polish, old cardboard sleeves, and lost decades enveloped her. Theresa took a moment to allow the mood to settle. This reading wasn't like the others. Tina, the store manager, had brought her here, claiming that odd things had been occurring since the summer, like records falling off shelves, whispering coming from the back room, and lights flickering any time someone spoke a specific name. Dave. The original owner, a quirky, kind vinyl collector who regarded music as holy text, had been Dave. Even though he had died 3 years ago, his presence was still felt here, among the music he loved, like static electricity. Tina wiped her palms on her slacks and walked uncomfortably up to Theresa. "I appreciate you coming. I am aware that this is not a typical location for a reading, yet something is happening here. Clients feel like they are being watched. The freezers in the deli next door feel warmer at night than the rear room." Theresa cocked her head and said, "And I hear someone humming the same tune every time I close up." "What song?" Tina took a swallow. What a fantastic world. At that moment, Theresa sensed it. an energy that surged towards her like an unexpected surge of need and nostalgia. Dave used to hum it constantly. She gasped. She said, "He's here." Theresa's fingertips tingled as they moved between the alphabetized rows of Bowie, Fleetwood Mac, Marley, Zeppelin, and Springsteen. "A gentleman is coming forward," she remarked, tall, with a beard and glasses. He was undoubtedly a music lover. Tina's eyes grew wide. "He says he wasn't just the owner. This place was his heartbeat." Theresa grinned slightly and said, "That's Dave. Tell her not to turn the jazz section around," he says. Tina gasped. "I set it up that way for a reason." "Last month I rearranged the jazz records. They were all confused." Theresa chuckled quietly. "He claims that they weren't confused. They weren't alphabetical. They were in order of vibes. That was his thing, whatever that meant," Tina remarked. "He arranged music according to mood. The employees detested it." Theresa's right arm suddenly felt heavy, a chill, as though someone were softly pulling at her sleeve. The old wooden door creaked as they walked in. "He wants us to go to the back." Unsorted records were piled high in boxes. A small lamp flickered in the corner. Theresa took a breath. "Didn't he pass away unexpectedly?" Tina nodded. "Something with the heart." "Indeed." While closing, he suffered a heart attack. It was only in the morning that they discovered him. Theresa closed her eyes. "He claims that he didn't feel isolated. As he traveled, he heard music." Tina's tears sprang out at once. "He wants you to know that." Then, thump! Near Theresa's feet, a box dropped from the top shelf. There was a record called Louis Armstrong, What a Wonderful World, with a vivid blue cover. Tina put her hand over her mouth. Theresa knelt down and carefully picked up the record, saying, "That's the song we hear. He's demonstrating this to prove it's him." Suddenly, however, the temperature in the room plunged. Softly, but urgently, a new presence crept in. Goosebumps appeared on Theresa's arms. She said, "There's another spirit here. Younger. A man with curly hair who was undoubtedly related to the store." Tina nodded slowly as he said, "He says Dave helped him during a hard time." "My goodness, that sounds just like Evan. When he was in college, he worked here." Theresa's voice grew softer. "He died in a motorbike accident. He expresses gratitude. When he felt like he didn't matter, Dave told him he did, gave him his first job, and taught him everything there is to know about music." Tina was now shivering, overwhelmed. "I had no idea that Dave and Evan were dating." "Here?" Theresa gave a soft nod. "They're demonstrating to me how they crossed paths." Both of them were taking care of the store when an amazing occurrence occurred. The flickering of the lamp ceased. Despite the lack of windows, a gentle breeze blew through the space, and a faint but distinct humming sound appeared next to the corner. Warm, low, and recognizable. Theresa rested against the wall with her hand over her heart, and I thought, what a wonderful world. He claims he doesn't want people to be afraid of the store. Tina nodded through sobs. He wants it to be what it always was, somewhere people come for comfort, discovery, and love of music. I am missing him. He knows, Theresa said. I didn't get to say goodbye. You don't need a farewell, kiddo, he says. Tina sobbed and covered her face, saying, You kept my dream alive. He wants you to keep the mural you're planning, Theresa continued. Consider painting the rear wall. Tina's jaw sprang open in surprise. How could he? Next month, I was going to create a mural in remembrance. He adores the concept. Put his favorite quote on it, he asks. What quote? Theresa then went cold because she heard Dave's comforting voice murmuring, Music doesn't fill the silence, in her soul rather than via her ears. Theresa said it out loud. It reveals the soul hidden inside it. Tina started crying once more. She stated, that was his philosophy. The atmosphere eased as he said, he wrote it on the first notebook he gave me. The stress subsided, as though someone were gradually closing a door to another world. The coldness subsided. Theresa grinned broadly. He is taking a step back. He is content. They both are. Tina took a trembling breath. So, is he truly all right? He's more than fine, Theresa remarked. He's still keeping watch over this land and is right where he should be. Tina chuckled while crying. Whenever you hear that humming, it's just his way of saying hello. They returned to the shop. Golden streaks of sunlight caught the dust as it passed through the front windows. Now the record store felt alive, lighter, and warmer. A customer stopped at the jazz section after wandering in. As if prodded by an unseen hand, one record moved forward from the shelf. Theresa and Tina smiled at each other knowingly. But before daybreak, the rain had started, softly tapping against the windows of the Massapequa home of the O'Connor family. By the afternoon, the sky had turned a drab gray, heavy and motionless, as though the heavens themselves didn't want the day to end. With a folded piece of paper in her shaking fingers, Lily O'Connor stood at the doorway. Her mother's name was inscribed on it by her. O'Connor, Margaret. However, beneath it, almost without realizing it, she had scribbled the name of her father, Patrick, who had died 8 years prior. Like a wound, the two names sat there together. The anniversary of Margaret's passing was today. Lily, too, felt as though she had lost both of her parents at that same time. The grief had compounded rather than diminished, and one death had reopened the first. However, today was also unique. She was scheduled to see Theresa Caputo, the Long Island medium, today. The scent of warm vanilla and sage filled Theresa's reading area. The illumination was dim. The furnishings are comfortable. A bowl of polished stones rested on the table next to her, and a tiny gold cross hung on the wall. People seemed to have come there to re-inhale. With her dark hair pulled back in a tight bun, and her eyes red-rimmed from too many tears and restless nights, Lily hesitantly walked in. Theresa nodded gently at her, sporting her trademark huge blonde hair and pleasant grin. "Hello, my love," she said. "Enter." Lily said, "Take your time." Her fingers grabbed the edge of her chair, restless and cold. Theresa took a deep breath and briefly closed her eyes. Lily's heart skipped a beat when she opened them because of their depth and severity. Theresa said, "Your mother came forward as soon as you entered. However, there's more to it. I also sense a father figure. Additionally, he isn't letting her talk by herself." Lily's breath caught. Her throat constricted as she nodded. Theresa's head cocked. "Your mother is saying something that I don't hear very frequently, honey. When I died, my daughter felt like she lost both of us all over again," she recalls. Lily started crying right once, shivering and putting her hands over her face. "Yes," she said in a whisper. Theresa leaned softly in her direction and said, "That's exactly how it felt." Her voice was comforting and reassuring. "Your mother is showing me the house you grew up in. In the kitchen, I spot her." Lily laughed tremblingly. "And your dad is in the backyard fixing something. He's waving at you like he always did." "He was that person," Theresa stated. "They're together? They're always fixing something." "Tell my daughter she didn't lose 2 parents, your mother says." The air in the room seemed to change abruptly, as if an invisible presence had moved in and taken up residence next to them. "She gained 2 guardians." The warmth stretched across Lily's chest. Theresa went on, "She claims that you've been feeling guilty about not doing enough during her final days." Lily froze. "That you weren't there enough." She revealed her greatest fear and secret. Lily said, "I was at work the night she died." I informed her that I would return early. With a composed confidence, Theresa shook her head. I didn't make it in time." She smiled slightly and continued, "Your mom is shaking her finger at you. Stop blaming yourself," she urges. "I choose when to leave. Additionally, I didn't want my daughter to witness my final breath. That was my gift to her." Lily started crying more, but the tears had changed. Softer, looser. Tears that fell, but did not break. "And your dad says you went to his grave last week," Theresa said, tenderly caressing her chest. "You believed no one was observing." Lily looked up, startled. "He's showing me a rose," Theresa remarked. I didn't tell anyone." "One crimson rose. It was laid on his tomb by you. That rose reached me," he says, "and I heard everything you muttered." Lily started to shake once more, filled with emotion. Theresa paused, then took a steady breath. "Honey, there's something else." Lily dried her eyes and waited for anything significant. "I see your future through your parents. A young youngster rushing to you in a bright kitchen with sunlight streaming in through the windows." The words struck a deep chord with her. Don't live in sadness so long that you forget to live your own life. Following the loss of her mother, she had put her life on hold. Don't date, no travel, no happiness. She believed that leaving them behind was a necessary part of moving on. Theresa's tone became even softer. Your mother says, Lily, every step you take forward brings you closer to us, not further away. A cozy silence descended upon the room. After years of tension, Lily's shoulders finally relaxed. She inhaled deeply and tremblingly, feeling something she hadn't felt in a long time as it filled her lungs to brim. I hope. The reading went on for almost an hour. When it was over, Theresa got up and hugged Lily tenderly. Your parents came through so strong today, sweetheart, Theresa remarked. You have to hear those messages. They want you to stop grieving. Lily put a hand to her heart and nodded, saying, They want you to live for them. She muttered, I feel lighter. Theresa grinned confidently and said, It's like something inside me finally let go. The rain had ceased when Lily went outdoors. That's exactly what they wanted. A gentle amber glow was melting across the sky as the clouds broke. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Mina and I hope you're having a great day. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the video.